I like the meme on the top right corner of the slide because it graphically shows what happens when teachers fail to honor and respect and use the language that the children are most fluent in, typically the home language. And that's the basic rationale for the MIT-Haiti initiative, which was founded back in 2010, soon after the terrible earthquake of January 2010. If there was one silver lining to the post-earthquake cloud in Haiti, is the fact that the destructive power of the earthquake, like that of COVID today, exposed the worms in the roots of the structure. That power of destruction showed what we could do much better. And this is what led me and my colleagues in Haiti and at MIT to think of something like the MIT-Haiti initiative to help revamp education in Haiti. So this initiative was founded by myself and my dear friend and colleague Vijay Kumar, who is currently the director of the Jamil World Education Lab, JWEL, at MIT Open Learning. And I want to introduce MIT-Haiti as one example where linguistics can play a transformative role in the Black Lives Matter movement for social justice through education. The starting point of our work was, and still is, a dire predicament. This slide describes the situation of linguistic apartheid in Haiti. The facts are well documented and quite straightforward. 1. Every Haitian speaks Creole, but the primary language of instruction is French, which is spoken by only a small percentage of Haitians, no more than 5%, if you only consider fluent speakers of French. And the use of French in that context is a recipe for disaster from many points of view: academic, psychological, social, identity formation, or rather malformation, etc. Items 2 through 5 here summarize a dismal failure. 2, only 10% finish school. 3, only 1% gets to college, any college. And 4, it's rote learning throughout. Of course, language is only one out of many factors underlying Haiti's academic failure. But any proposed solution must address the language barrier. Otherwise, it's no solution at all. So language is one key factor among the many factors that keep Haiti impoverished. So now going forward and looking at the future, this slide is a before and after overview for the path that we at MIT-Haiti have been aiming at to improve the school system in Haiti. So the before is what's happening now in most schools in Haiti, a system that's French-based and test-driven, so students spend most of the time memorizing by heart with little comprehension French materials that bear little relevance to their needs and to their everyday reality. Our goal has been to basically replace this French-based rote learning tradition with an inclusive framework where students can build some of their own knowledge through the native Creole. We call our model Trois Roches d'Ifé, that is 3 rocks of fire, as you can see in that picture. This slogan is inspired by a common image in Haiti of 3 rocks of fire that hold a big cooking pot for the extended family in the traditional courtyard called La Cou. The 3 rocks or pillars of the initiative are the native language Creole, active learning pedagogy, and technology for education. We use the term technology in the largest sense possible to mean not just computers and laptops and phones. Instead, technology is anything that helps students engage with the materials in some constructive fashion. So this is the blueprint of the initiative. Our hope is that this model can be applicable to many, if not most, school systems in the world, especially in the global south, where it's most needed. Now, I always enjoy sharing this video that gives me so much hope for the future. This was filmed in 2011 at the Lekòl communautaire Matenois. It's a community-based school in a small mountain village called Matenois on the island of La Gonâve, off the coast of the main island in Haiti. Back then, these 2 girls, Chrisla and Jericam, they were 9-year-olds in the 4th grade. This was the 3rd time only ever playing with any computer game in any language. The game was given to us by Mr. Nussbaum.com. It involves identifying digits in place values for a series of numbers. For example, if you see 123, 123, you have to identify 1 in the hundreds, 2 in the tens, and 3 in the units. And as they were playing, those 2 girls started having so much fun that they burst into improvised songs and dance, like in a musical. So let's watch and listen. So these girls wanted to come back during the weekend to keep playing those games. It was just amazing to see the passion that they were having doing math in Creole. Even better news arrived when we gave post-pilot interviews to the students at the Lekòl community Matin. One question we ask is if the students liked the fact that the games were in Creole and whether they might have preferred to have the games in French. It was so heartening to hear most of them say, without blinking, how much they liked having the games in Creole. And when I asked them why, the answer too came very quickly. So here's one example of one such student answering the question. We had many replies just like that, showing how deeply the children understood the importance of Creole for the instruction.
So pensez qu'il t'a plus bon pour faire en créole ou bien en français?
En créole.
Pour qui ça?
Pour qu'on puisse bien comprendre.
Okay.
Out of 20 kids, there were 2 out of 20 kids who said that they would have preferred to have the games in French. Now, let's listen to one of these 2 kids. Look also at the body language, that's very telling.
Quelle langue pour nous servir avec pour tu jouer au français ou bien créole?
Français.
Pour qui ça?
J'ai une coupon. Une coupon français.
Vous comprenez français? Hein?
Oui.
Donc vous avez préféré pour jouer en français?
Oui.
Ok. Vous parlez français?
On ne va pas parler français. Non.
Mon Dieu, vous comprenez français? Si vous parlez français, comment on fait comprendre français?
On connaît au français.
Au français? Et créole, est-ce que vous connaissez au créole?
On connaît tout.
Vous connaissez tout le créole?
Oui.
Et pourtant, on dit que vous avez préféré petite voiture en français. Pour qui ça?
Qui ça?
Vous dites que vous avez préféré petite voiture en français. Pour qui ça? Pour qui ça, l'osni?
Quand on parle.
Tu peux qu'on parle?
Oui.
Ok. Ok, l'osni. M'a dit grand merci.
This child was one of the students doing the most poorly in math. He couldn't do the math, so he could have benefited so much from doing math in Creole without that kind of blockage. But he didn't want to do the math. He wanted to learn French instead, even while trying to do math. It doesn't matter that speaking French in this context won't help him much. He sees French as what would make him fully human, because that's what his parents tell him. That's what his community tells him. And all the signs he sees around him tell him, look, to be human, to be a full citizen, you have to speak French. Therefore, for him, math did not matter. He wanted to speak French, you see. This is the toughest challenge that we're facing. If you read this paper, it's on my website, you'll get more details about this experiment. One thing we found in this pilot project in Matin is that it's crucial to get the faculty on board as well, especially faculty at university who are engaged in teacher training. And that's been the next step of the initiative.
C'est la première fois qu'on a effort fait comme ça. Pour tout un logiciel, dans le niveau technologique, il faut arriver fait pour mettre dans le créole. Donc, la plus accessible, parce que il était clair que moyen que on apprenne plus bien, c'est l'apprendre dans la langue maternelle, dans la langue maman papa.
Li sorti dans cadre théorique là pour rentrer dans une véritable pratique de laboratoire, même le laboratoire là pas réel, mais ça l'a fait dans le logiciel là, c'est un coup laboratoire est devant.
Donc, kounia, professeur vient réaliser qui j'en outil ça yo, ka ede yo dan forme yon nouvo jenerasyon profeseur, maître, maîtresse ak étudiant ki ka vin pi kreatif, ki ka komanse fè bon jan recherche dan science ak matematik, epi kon sa, yap kap kontribuye dan développement économique pays tout bon vre.
So we've been very lucky to work with some really amazing Haitian faculty, as you could see in that video. And they are willing to go that route of teaching in Creole using active learning methods. So to sum up, what we've done so far in this project is we've done 8 workshops in Haiti with faculty from 22 to 2016. In 2017, we had a major symposium where we summarized our findings to date and we share them with our audience in Haiti. And we've now written a couple of papers to summarize our findings. And this quote from a physics faculty in one of our workshops summarizes pretty well the challenges and opportunities that we face in this project. So one post-workshop survey question asked about the changes that teachers notice when they use materials in Creole, such as those we share in our workshops. That teacher's first point was exactly what we expected. He said, well, when I teach in Creole, many changes occur because children ask more questions. But then he continued, and sometimes you even feel that they speak too much. And well, he's telling us something that's quite important, that he's overwhelmed because he's not used to a classroom where kids are engaged in the learning and asking questions. But then what does he do when he gets overwhelmed? He says that he switches back to French, so there will be less interaction in the classroom. Clearly, this quote tells us that for most in Haiti, you cannot do active learning in French. So French is actually a barrier to quality education for all. Creole is what you have to use when you want to teach well, and you use French for discipline, for shutting students up, and for crowd control, really. But overall, we have some very good results. We have a paper by myself and Glenda Stump, a colleague at MIT Open Learning, where we document these changes in attitudes that are improving vis-à-vis Creole, vis-à-vis active learning, vis-à-vis technology in teaching. We've analyzed survey results. We're quite happy about these changes in attitudes that we're documenting. And another outcome of our efforts in the past 10 years has been the creation of a set of tools in Creole for active learning of STEM. We're also producing active learning guides. So the first one was published in 2019 for physics by Paul Belloni, Glenda Stump, and myself. And in the works, we have a series of guides for biology, chemistry, and mathematics. So where do we go next? Since September 2019, my friend and colleague at MIT, Professor of Mathematics, Heinz Miller, and myself, we've launched this new online platform, MIT-Haiti.net. And we think that this too can be a model for other disenfranchised communities that lack access to quality education. So a bit of history. When we started this initiative, the focus was, well, because of MIT, it was mostly on STEM and mostly at university level. But as we picked up steam, the teachers that we were working with, they made it clear that much more was needed. In fact, there was a constant demand for more materials in more disciplines and at more levels. But a small team we didn't have the capacity to engage in systematic production of materials. So fortunately, we have a Creole proverb that says, "Mais en pile, chai palou," meaning many hands lighten the load. So this proverb is at the heart of this new platform. We're using a Creative Commons license to collect and co-create and share materials, all of it in Creole. And so what we've done is to invite educators all over Haiti and beyond, also in the US, to contribute materials in Creole. And as long as the material promotes active learning, it's good quality, we help with the editing, making sure that it reaches the right level. Much of what we get already comes in with very high quality. And it's amazing that we have received already some 200 items, 200. And we've gotten to reach networks of Asian faculty who were already producing Creole materials, but they were doing so in isolation, in silos. And now they have the chance to contribute the resources on a platform that can, in principle, serve the entire country and beyond. So now we're part of this ecosystem of organizations, mostly led by young Haitians who understand the importance of Creole and who are producing quality materials in all domains. And this is what I think will bring the country around in the use of Creole for quality education and for liberation, really.